What's going on YouTube? So we've spent a lot of time with the Grand Highlander since it first came out. However, there is one version that we haven't spent a ton of time with yet.
And that, of course, is the super efficient hybrid model. But we fixed that this week by spending this entire time with the hybrid Nightshade.
And we want to know, is this the undisputed 34 MPG family king? Well, let's go ahead, find out. Alright, so the first place we need to start off with is under the hood. So this Grand Highlander has two different hybrid powertrains. This is the most efficient one though, a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine with electric componentry making 243 horsepower. It's paired to an eCVT, and the front-wheel drive version actually can get up to 36 MPG combined.
Now, the base price of the Grand Highlander is $42,000 this year, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, this, of course, is a real-world 7-day review, so we have quite a lot of elements to share, such as our real-world experience, fuel economy, and get things like our sound level reading.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because this is the Nightshade model and there's some special things we need to show on the outside as well as the inside. So when we have a loan for a week, we like to show it off to our family and friends, ask them what they think about it. And then, like I was saying, we've got the Nightshade model today. So this one kind of adds some blacked out elements, give you a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more of a sporty dynamic for the Grand Highlander. And you can see that up here in the front. As far as everyone's opinion on it, I think they liked the overall elements. This can be a little bit more of a bland looking family crossover, so giving the Nightshade, I think, gives you a little bit more aggression. Now, as far as the lighting is concerned, we have full LED headlights. That's actually standard across every Grand Highlander, but since this is based on the limited trim level, that's where you get the premium headlight arrangement, so you also get the LED daytime running light and turn signal indicator, plus you have LED fog lights right there. And walking around to the back of the Grand Highlander is actually a 2026 update for this Nightshade.
Yeah, so what is that update? Well, the fact that all of our badging is blacked out this year. I definitely think that's a nice touch to be now standard equipment instead of having to option that on. And I definitely really think it helps the overall appearance of this Nightshade model. Now, as far as other design touches, we have a spoiler up here at the top, a rear wiper, Grand Highlander spelled out across the back. And let's take a look at our taillights. So our taillights are going to be pretty premium. They're going to be full LED, so you have your LED brake light, LED turn signal, LED reverse light. I also like the fact that the brake light goes all the way across the spoiler there. And then as we drop down to the lower fascia, this is going to be a rugged matte black plastic. I do want to point out you get exhaust outlets if you choose the Hybrid Max variant. Also, if you choose that or the traditional gas model, you can tow 5,000 pounds, but this standard hybrid only tows 3,500 pounds, so be aware of that.
Next up, we have our wheels. You have some selections starting at 18-inch alloys and then moving up to 20-inch alloys. This model, of course, has the 20-inch alloy, and we have a special blacked out design. It's kind of a matte finish overall. You also have a matte black wheel surround and lower moldings. Up top here, we've got a gloss black finish to our mirrors. These come standard with blind spot monitoring and heating. Also, you get power folding on the limited Nightshade.
Now let's talk about overall vehicle length. So the Grand Highlander is very grand in its overall sizing. This is a very big offering for the segment, 201.4 inches in length. We'll talk about interior space, but this is very, very large. I'll just go ahead and tell you that. Now, as far as design, here on the Nightshade, we have blacked out window surrounds, blacked out roof rails. We have the crossbars installed, and we also have blacked out door handles, which are special for this version. I also want to point out this paint color. This is known as cement. I really like the way this paint color looks, especially here on the Nightshade. Now, when it comes to active safety features on the Grand Highlander, you do get all of those as standard equipment. That will even include things like adaptive cruise control. However, do keep in mind, if you want the platinum grade, that will throw in additionally traffic jam assist. But guys, there's a lot to talk about on the inside when it comes to practicality and luxury. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from our long-term vehicle videos to our side-by-side comparisons, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's move it to the inside. First, here's our key fob. It's the typical Toyota key fob. It's got Grand Highlander badging on there. Smart entry is standard equipment on all models. Getting inside, just grab behind the handle. That will unlock the door. It'll also fold the mirrors outward on the Nightshade. And let's look on inside the interior. So as you can see, kind of got that standard Grand Highlander look. There are a couple special touches for the Nightshade, but let's start by talking about the seats. So in the entire lineup, you start with fabric seats, you move to leatherette, and then you get to real leather seats. The Nightshade is based on the Limited, like I said earlier, so that gets you the real leather seats. It's just a full leather with a stitch design. Black is the only color option, though, for the Nightshade. As far as the seat controls, it's a 10-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. It also gets memory seats located right over there on the door trim. And we'll go ahead and climb inside. Now you might have noticed this model does have some running boards. Of course, it's not a very tall step up to get inside of this, so those are mostly just for design. And let's take a look at the rest of the materials in here. Starting with our door trim, we have a leatherette all through here, nicely padded, soft touch right through there, and soft touch along the top. The Nightshade model has basically just a silver painted plastic trim. Some of the other versions can get a faux wood in place of this or a faux carbon fiber. Up top here, this is going to be hard touch at this section, soft touch through here with a stitching detail, more of the silver trim through there, a little bit of chrome accenting, and it is going to be padded along the center tunnel. Now we'll fire it up with the push button start. With the vehicle all fired up, we can get into the individual details, starting with the gauge cluster as always. So beginning on this version is where the hybrid model gets the 12.3-inch multi-function display, so the full digital setup versus the partially digital one, and you can reconfigure this design in several different ways. Just be aware you cannot get a head-up display unless you get a platinum trim, and the platinum is not available with the traditional hybrid system we're testing out today. Now, taking a look at the steering wheel, we've got the leatherette wrap steering wheel. It is nicely heated, as well as having rain-sensing wipers on our Limited Nightshade. The wheel itself will always be manual, tilt, and telescoping. And then, of course, storage is a really huge part about having a large family 3-row like this, and the Grand Highlander certainly delivers in this respect. So inside of here, you'll notice we've got a lot of donuts. That, of course, is our emblem, and we like to do the donut test, and this excels in the donut test. We actually have the maximum donuts we keep with us, which is 2 dozen, so it has 24 in there, and honestly, we got a little bit of room to spare. We could fit even more than that. That is really impressive. Now up in front of that, we've got our 2 cup holders, more storage right there, more storage right there, wireless phone charging pad. Then over here, we even have a passenger storage shelf, and they've got their own USB connections. As far as the shifter is concerned, the Hybrid Max, that the most powerful version, actually has a electronic one, but this is the traditional style, which both Mason, I, and Josh, we all thought this was easier to use. Now, as far as that, you can shift manually through some simulated gear changes, no paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then when we go into reverse, here is our 360-degree camera system. Pretty good resolution on board. You have active trajectory as well, and you have some other views that you can switch between. Back behind that, you have your electronic parking brake with your brake hold, and the mirrors do also tilt down in reverse to help you see the parking lines. All right, in this region, you've got a lot of buttons for your different drive modes. And then let's move on up into this section, which is our climate controls. Grand Highlander keeps this very simple. You've just got the big old knobs for the 3-zone automatic setup, and that's for all the trim levels. As you can see, like I said, nice and simple just because you have the big knobs. The finish, though, doesn't actually match the surround. This is kind of a funny thing, but we thought that was pre-production when we first tested out the Grand Highlander. But I think 3 years later, it's probably safe to say that is not pre-production. But I do wish they'd actually make that gloss black. Nevertheless, off to the side here, XLE and above get heated seats. And then you also get ventilated seats on the Limited and the Limited Nightshade models. You also get a physical volume knob for the audio system. Limited and Limited Nightshade as well get the 11-speaker JBL sound system, and we'll sample it out right now. So overall sound quality is decent, but as far as branded sound systems compared to the competition, this is going to be on the lower end for sure. It's not very well balanced. It's super bass heavy, so we definitely found that we needed to go in and kind of tweak it just to try to make it sound a little bit better. All right, so taking a look at our main display, we've got the 12.3-inch display. This is standard across all of the models, and it's running one of the latest versions of the Toyota multimedia infotainment system. There is a new version that is coming out with the new RAV4, but this model and many of the others will not be getting that system yet. In terms of the features on board, you have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You do also have built-in navigation if you set it up and subscribe to it after the 1-year trial is up. Up top here, we have an auto-dimming mirror with our HomeLink universal remotes. Got a built-in dash cam, that's an optional feature. And then another option is the panoramic sunroof. So I'll slide back the sunshade here to give you a look at that. It's a very large piece of glass, and the front panel opens up.
All right, so we've got to talk about the rear seats of the Grand Highlander. Now, this, of course, is probably the grandest part about this vehicle, is just how much space you have here in the second row, the third row, and the cargo area. Let's start here with the second row. So what we're sitting at is about 39.5 inches of legroom, 39 inches of headroom. Those are very good figures. They're not necessarily class leading at this point. However, they are very good when it comes to space. Now, of course, I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. The reason I do that is so I can get a realistic knee room figure. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I am 5'9", and we are looking at about 7.5 inches of knee space. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seats. And these seats, of course, do slide forward to all the way to touching the front seat. They slide back a good distance, and they also recline. Now, if you want captain's chairs, there's good news when it comes to the Grand Highlander. Everything besides the base LE model will come standard with captain's chairs. You can also get bench seating if you prefer the extra seat to have 8-passenger instead of 7-passenger, like what this model is. If you opt for the captain's chairs, you get the nice padded armrest. You also get the removable center console here. I definitely like this center console. It adds 2 more cup holders, a little bit of storage, and like I said, you can fully remove it if you just want to walk back into the third row. Now let's talk about other features. Here in the center section, we have our own climate zone back here. Additionally, limited trims and above will give you the heated back seats. Just be aware that Platinum is where you get the ventilated back seats, so that does mean the standard hybrid model can't get that. Now we have 2 USB ports, one on each side. We have a household outlet as well. And then let's take a look at our door trim. Our door trim is going to be nicely done. We have rear window sunshades. The upper part is going to be a semi-soft touch plastic. You have a little bit of hard touch in the middle part. However, the armrest portion itself is padded. You have a little bit of storage space in front of there and quite a bit of storage space down below. Easily enough, you could fit a bottle right there. And you also have vents that come out of the ceiling. And let's go ahead and check out the third row. That's very important. So in order to get back here, all you have to do is grab this little lever right here. That is going to allow the seat to kind of tilt and go forward in the rail itself. Just be aware the seat back itself did move, so it's not the tilting system that you get on some of its rivals. Now, let's go ahead and hop back here into the third row. That's really where the Grand Highlander excels, is this third row. That is for sure. So notice that this seat is actually slid all the way back in its tracks, and look at how much space I have. As far as official legroom, like I said, I'm 5'9". I still have almost 3 inches of knee room to spare. My feet can slide up underneath of the seats, and the thigh support is absolutely fantastic. This is a very, very comfortable third row, let me just tell you. Now, as far as the actual numbers are concerned, 33.5 inches is your legroom figure, 37 inches is your headroom figure. That does mean it's pretty much class leading. I do believe the Palisade is like 33.6, but this is tied for best in segment when it comes to legroom and headroom, and it is just super comfortable. You have 3 seats back here. As far as features, this is a hard touch armrest portion. You have 3 cup holders, a USB port. You also have vents that come out of the ceiling here. So overall, this is a pretty fantastic third row. I'm going to say this is definitely fit for adults. Let's go ahead and check out the cargo area. Of course, we do have a hands-free power tailgate, and Let's talk about cargo capacity. I told you that you'd be impressed, and indeed you should be, because we have 21 cubic feet of space behind the third row of seats. Behind the second row of seats, about 58 cubic feet, and as a maximum with all of the seats folded down, 98 cubic feet. That, like I said, is a class-leading feature for this vehicle. It is so good when it comes to cargo capacity, nearly that 100 cubic feet of space. There are a lot of rivals, and we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings to see where this vehicle excels and where some of the competition excels as well. We've looked at the 10 most important categories for this 3-row midsize SUV shopper. Things like cargo space, interior luxury, powertrain choices, value quotient, technology, and you can see the best options for you in each of those categories to make an informed buying decision. But I'll go ahead and spoil it for you. If you want cargo space, this Grand Highlander is going to pretty much be it. Now, let's talk about features here in the cargo area. You do not have a power folding third row. I'm pretty disappointed by that, honestly. I wish Toyota had included the power folding third row. However, you can just relatively easily use those handles to fold it down. You also don't have any buttons to fold the second row from the cargo area, so in order to fold it, it's actually a 2-step process, and you have to go up to the second row. So now I've got the seats folded flat. I do wish Toyota would really improve that. Things like the Palisade make that so much easier. But let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as cargo length behind Drew's 5'8" seating position, 89 inches. That's pretty darn impressive. Behind the second row with it slid all the way back, 54 inches. Behind the third row, 23 inches of length. As far as the opening, 50 inches wide. That's fantastic. Also, as far as height, that is pretty much fantastic as well, 32 inches tall. Let's get the load-in height. That's about 32 inches. And then as far as under the floor, there's a little bit of extra space down here. I do want to point out that you actually have a spare tire, which is something that's becoming increasingly rare, especially on a hybridized option. And speaking of the powertrains, all the powertrains have the exact same cargo space figure, so you don't have to worry about that. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot. As you can see on the screen right now, we'll also be getting things like our sound level reading and, of course, discussing the oh-so-important fuel economy. But first, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, that was an acceleration to 60 miles per hour. So like we talked about at the spec dump at the beginning, this is the conventional hybrid model. And what we've spent the most time with all of our other Grand Highlander testing has been with either the turbo engine, which is the standard option, or the Hybrid Max, which is their top spec model. This falls in between and is going to give you the best overall efficiency. Now, in terms of the specifications, this is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine paired with your electric hybrid componentry. 243 horsepower is your overall power. 0 to 60 is just slightly under 8 seconds with this. So this is the slowest version, but it's not a big difference versus the 2.4 liter turbocharged model.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Drew said, we spent a lot of time with all of the Grand Highlander powertrains, and yes, this is the slowest one. However, after living with it this week, I will say it really didn't bother me that much whatsoever. I mean, a lot of the times you're not going around doing a full throttle acceleration in a family 3-row SUV like this, so it's definitely enough power to keep up with the flow of traffic. And of course, we'll talk about the fuel economy, but that's the big benefit when it comes to this standard hybrid powertrain is the exceptionally good fuel economy. Now, I'll go ahead and hit the other two powertrains just so you can be aware of those. So the turbo model is a 2.4 liter turbo 4-cylinder, 265 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60, 7.5 seconds. So only 0.4 seconds slower this model. So that's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion to get this hybrid. Now, there's also the Hybrid Max version. That's going to be a more powerful hybrid setup, 2.4 liter turbo 4 plus hybrid electric componentry, 362 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, and 0 to 60 on that is 6.3 seconds. So that's going to definitely be a big step up when it comes to power versus this, but really all of the powertrain options are going to have unique benefits over the other.
Now the handoff between the electric power and the gasoline engine is very seamless. That being said, I have to mention that you can, of course, hear it. I'm sure it's picking up on the microphones right now. This is not going to be the most refined sounding option. I mean, overall, it's pretty smooth, like I was saying, but definitely the sound, I think, makes it seem a little bit more strained than it actually is.
Yeah, I wish they would kind of mute that a little bit more. We've complained about that on really all the Toyota products, so this is not specific to the Grand Highlander, that's for sure. I will point out, though, the Hybrid Max kind of pumps in like a fake sound into the cabin, which you might prefer. So if you want to check that out, we have reviewed that several times, so you can hop on over to that video as well. Now, we're on our designated strip of road to talk about ride quality, and that's an area that we've spent hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of miles driving Grand Highlanders, and we've been very, very impressed. That is to say the least. This vehicle is one of those products that you can just get behind the wheel and just go on a long road trip and arrive refreshed. The seats are incredibly comfortable. The suspension is tuned honestly really, really good. They have tuned it to soak up all of the largest road imperfections. Hardly anything makes it into the cabin, including these bridge abutments here. Does a really good job. And as you'll see a little bit later on, we'll discuss drive dynamics, but this Grand Highlander is not too sloppy on a back road either. All right, let's get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. We have it on fan speed 1 and the rear climate has been turned off. 51.2 decibels is our sound level reading here in the Grand Highlander. I have to say, very impressive sound level reading. I don't have to sit here and guess, though. I can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings and see how it compares to its numerous rivals. And quite frankly, that's going to be a pretty much class-leading sound level reading. I have to say I'm pretty impressed by that because it's super windy outside. You may have seen in the video, my toboggan's been blowing around. It's been actually quite unpleasant to film, but super windy outside. So to get that sound level reading, very impressive. I
think we got it in the right spot, like kind of, the wind was blocked by that hill next to us, and yeah.
So I think overall, that definitely shows that they have done pretty good with the sound deadening on this. We've seen that in previous Grand Highlanders that we've tested, that these are pretty quiet vehicles, and the hybrid engine actually was completely turned off for that sound level reading because we were going downhill, so that just added to that extra quiet cabin.
Now, as you can see, we're on a country road. Mason kind of mentioned this earlier, but one of the nice things about the Grand Highlander is it's not a sloppy vehicle just because it could get away with it. It's not really an expectation most people have in this segment, but Toyota did a good job of, I think, controlling the body roll. It's not unreasonable, just a little bit, and specifically the steering, while being lightweight, is nice and responsive. And again, they didn't have to do that, but they did, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about fuel economy. I think that's a very important element and very crucial to anyone watching this video. So the fuel economy ranges from 24 on the low end with the gasoline option to all the way up to this one, which is a hybrid. Now, the hybrid front-wheel drive actually can get up to 36 miles per gallon, which blows everything else really out of the water in this segment. Now, if you choose all-wheel drive, that goes down to 34 MPG. But what's our real-world experience fuel economy this week? I'm sure you're curious as to that. Now, due to the timing of this, we do have to travel for other automaker programs. We have not fully concluded our week-long of tests with this model, so we'll go ahead and insert a picture in after we conclude more driving with this so you can see what to expect. I do want to preface by saying that it has been colder weather here in Kentucky this week, as you can see with my toboggan, so that does negatively impact hybrid fuel economy, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see if it's a little bit lower than the EPA estimate.
And that's what we're going to call today's slam dunk, because this is really a unique powertrain option in the segment. You know, typically the few that actually offer hybrids, they tend to be more powerful hybrids that don't get nearly this type of fuel economy. This really is a special kind of powertrain, and I like it. I think overall, it works with this model because most people don't really expect to have that super fast 0 to 60 or anything like that.
Absolutely. Now, on the airball side, it was a toss-up between a couple different things, but the thing that bothers me the most personally is this cabin. This cabin is pretty cheap, not gonna lie. We're sitting at 60 grand as tested today, and like, there's just not really a lot of anything to spoil you inside this cabin. It's very utilitarian. It's not awful, but it's just not that nice, especially when you look at competitors like a Palisade Calligraphy is the same price as this. Now, the other thing that we did kind of have a gripe with is the seat folding mechanism, the fact that we don't have a power folding third row, and also the fact that we don't have buttons in the cargo area to fold the second row, I think is a swing and a miss, especially in this family-oriented 3-row segment. And after a week, do we like this hybrid Grand Highlander better, the same, or worse? I think all of us at Car Confections, the entire team, can agree that we like it better. And the reason for that is mainly this hybrid powertrain, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Didn't get a huge sample of this when it was first launched. Maybe the circumstance wasn't the most flattering, climbing up and down hills, but actually living with this model, I think I absolutely can overlook the fact that it's not the fastest and it has a little bit of engine noise, because the benefits really outweigh those negatives.
All right, so now we need to talk about pricing for the Grand Highlander. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, it starts around 42 grand. Of course, as you go up the trim structure, it elevates in price quite a lot. This is one of your more expensive options in the segment. This limited hybrid Nightshade is kind of one of your middle trim levels. It starts at $53,190. Now, if you want all the options, we have added on a few options as well as a lot of accessories, plus $14.95 destination. We're sitting at $60,071 as tested today. If you're curious as to where this is manufactured, it is in Princeton, Indiana, so not too far from here. Now, if you're looking to buy a Toyota Grand Highlander or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealership negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale value, reliability, and the warranty. First up, let's talk about resale value. We estimate that this Toyota Grand Highlander will be worth 64.5% of original MSRP after 5 years and 60,000 miles, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 41.4%. It's worth noting those are very good resale values. As a matter of fact, it's the second best brand overall in the 5-year metric and one of the very best in the 10-year metric as well.
The same can also be said about reliability, where Toyota ranks as the #1 overall brand for reliability and obviously is well above the industry average.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our reliability, our resale value data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase. Now, also important in that decision is your warranty. You have a 3-year, 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, as well as 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed watching our in-depth 7-day review of the 2026 Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid Nightshade. If you enjoyed hearing our impressions about this standard hybrid powertrain as well as this Nightshade model, we'd really appreciate you subscribing down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We do a ton of videos that I promise you won't want to miss out on. A lot of family 3 rows, so if you're at all interested in that type of vehicle, we have tons of videos you won't want to miss out. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.